So we're really happy to be joined by Kristina Grbavac. She's an award-winning tax planning and advisory professional, currently working for KPMG, and she's here to tell us all about tax and finance for digital nomads. And she's joining us from Zagreb. Kristina, can you hear me?
Let's have a look. Hello. Good evening.
Gina.
Good evening from Zagreb. I don't have any wine. Somebody has to stay sober, for this serious subject. So I'm still with water, but after this, I'm going to have a great glass of wine. I'm really looking forward to that.
Excellent. Thank you, thank you, Kristina. Take it away. Tell us all about tax and finance.
Yeah, I prepared, since this is subject with a number of matters to consider, I prepared also a presentation for you just to see if I can share it.
Perfect. Yep.
Okay, you see it?
Yep.
Excellent. Okay. So after actually hearing about a number of matters relevant for digital nomads, it's also time to consider question: how should digital nomads pay tax? Should they pay any tax? And if they should, how? So first, maybe to consider who are digital nomads. And the digital nomads are based on draft of Croatian immigration legislation, third country nationals. Third country nationals are those who are not nationals of EU, Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, or Switzerland. Then these individuals should not be employees, they should be employees of non-Croatian companies or should do some work for non-Croatian companies. And they should, for that work, actually use telecommunication technology. And what Jan also mentioned earlier, no services should be provided by these individuals, Croatian employers. So this is all something that we should take into consideration when we are thinking about who are those who are digital nomads based on Croatian legislation. Now, when we know who are digital nomads, it's time actually to see what tax matters should be considered by digital nomads. The first one with which all digital nomads will actually come across will be social taxes. Because in order to come into one country, you actually need health insurance. Also, Jan mentioned at the beginning that you need to have health coverage to actually enter country. Since you are since all digital nomads are actually coming from third countries, they will all need to pay social taxes in Croatia. And I will give you a little bit more info about the amounts later. Then you also need to consider income tax. Is it going to be personal income tax or corporate income tax? Depends on your structure. So we'll see also maybe what is beneficial for you, which structure might be maybe better for you to choose. Then VAT. Of course, you would all say we are all paying VAT. But besides that, with your business activity, depending on level of activity, you might also need to register for VAT. Then also you might have some reporting obligations irrespective of the level of activity. So this is also something to be considered. Then permanent establishment. This is something that is a very complex matter on which actually you have a real specialist on permanent establishment. This is, let's say, when, for example, you are working for a company which is not a Croatian company. And if you are working from Croatia, you might create risk for that company to become taxable on corporate taxes in Croatia. So this is something that many companies are considering very carefully when they're sending their employees to work abroad. So we should be very careful about this matter too. And then we should also consider double taxation treaties. Croatia currently has signed 70 treaties with different countries. Still, there are some of the treaties which we still not have and which we would like to have, like with Australia and with the US. With the US, we're actually happy to say that we also were working on double tax treaty with the US actually to help it, to move because for 20 years we are waiting for the opportunity to start this process of signing double tax treaty with the US. And last year we engaged even our clients, to give their example as to why would signing of this treaty help them in their business. And we provided that to Croatian government. This was shared with US government, and the last month Croatia received the draft of the double tax treaty with US. So this is also something that will help our US digital nomads in avoidance of double taxation. Of course, in order to start considering any international taxation, you need to start from tax residency and taxability of your income. For tax residency of any individual, you should first of all see from which country you are coming from. For example, why is this important? US national, US citizens actually remain being tax residents of the US until for good, even though they actually left US and work abroad. So it's very hard actually to seize their tax residence in the US. So it's very important for which country you are coming from. It's also important how much you travel. Will you spend, more than 183 days in a specific country? Do you have habitual abode because you're spending certain amount of time in certain country? So this is also to be considered. Then permanent residence. Do you have permanent residence in some country? Some countries consider that you are their tax resident if you have permanent residence in their country. It should also be considered, what are your private circumstances? So now we are coming about some private matters, like do you have spouse, do you have children, or are they actually joining you while you are working abroad? So this is also something that would impact your tax residency position in a country. And of course, your business structure. Business structure is something that would actually not so much impact your tax residency, but is something that will impact taxability of your income. And I will say something a little bit more about Croatian considerations on different structures right now. So in Croatia, you could pay personal income tax, or you could pay corporate tax. So if you are employee of a foreign company, or you are you are a freelancer who actually is paying personal income tax, like you work on contract, then you would be subject to personal income tax in Croatia. Croatian tax rates at the moment are 24 and 36%. Why at the moment? Because Croatian tax legislation is prone to change. So we are already in the process of changing these tax rates, which have changed several times during the last few years. So you have to be very careful, that you have up-to-date information when you decide on taxation structures in Croatia. So now currently proposed decreased rates are 20 and 30, and the monthly tax bracket as of which this higher tax rate applies is 4,000 euro. If you're also receiving some dividends from abroad, for example, if you have a company or something, some shares, then this income is taxable at the moment at the rate of 12%. And this could be lower to this. We expect this to be changed to 10%. These changes of legislation are still in process, not yet approved by our government, but it is expected to be applicable as of 1st of January 2021. And as I mentioned, any individual, any digital nomad entering Croatia would have to pay social taxes. So minimum social taxes which have to be paid by digital nomads are at least this 66 euros per month, which is actually social insurance for your actually health insurance. There is also now this structure might be will be actually applicable for all of these, as I mentioned, who are employees of companies. But for those who are actually doing business, like freelancers, they might also consider registering for payment of taxes in Croatia based on lump sum amount. So lump sum personal taxation is something that will ensure that you could pay tax annually from 200 to 720 euros, which would be your total personal income tax liability in a year. This is applicable not for all businesses. So this is really intended for small businesses to ensure that they have easier taxation in Croatia. So if you have income of less than 39,500 euros, you could fall within this category. So this might be interesting to you. Social taxes payable for this structure would amount to 170 euro per month. Also worth of saying is that besides personal income tax, whoever actually pays personal income tax in Croatia has to pay city surtax. City surtax is not payable on the amount of income, but on the amount of tax liability. This city surtax ranges from 0 to 18%. Zagreb has as a capital, of course, the highest city surtax rate of 18%. And Dubrovnik, for example, has city surtax rate of 10%. So let's say that you have introduced and registered for lump sum taxation in Croatia. If your liability will be 200 euro per year, you would in Dubrovnik have to pay additional 20 of city surtax tax to Dubrovnik authorities. Besides all these taxes, it's also important VAT, because if you're doing business as this small business, you should not be actually obliged to register for VAT, because small businesses which are able to register for lump sum taxation are those up to 39,500 euro of income, as I mentioned. And this is the same cap which is applicable for VAT purposes. So if you actually fall within this category, then you don't have to register for VAT. However, should you exceed that amount, of course, you would have to register for VAT, but not only that, you will have to find some other solution for some other structure for your taxation. One of the other structures which might be available to you, and this is also available for those individuals who have businesses with income above this limit, which I mentioned of 39,500 euro, is corporate income taxation, corporate profit taxation. Corporate profit tax rates in Croatia are 12 and 18%. 12% rate is the one which is also proposed to be decreased to 10%. And income, those individuals who earn income above 1 million euro per annum would have to pay tax at 18%. Those who earn up to 1 million euro, those could pay tax at 12, that is at 10% rate as of next year. If you as an owner would, get some dividends from your company, would like to, extract some money at the end after you pay Croatian corporate profit tax, you would have to, again, as I mentioned earlier, pay this personal income tax at 12% rate, which could also decrease to 10% as expected now. Those who will be paying corporate profit tax in Croatia, they don't have to register immediately companies. So this is just a way of taxation of your income. And they will also be obliged to pay social taxes, but these social taxes are higher than those which I mentioned for personal taxation, personal income tax taxation. So these social taxes amount to 470 euro a month. These are approximate amounts, all of these, because this is all recalculated based on some average exchange rate, of course, between Croatian kuna and euro. In this structure, of course, you're not paying corporate income tax on your income, but on your profits, which means that business expenses are deductible in this structure. Now, there's no answer, one answer for all digital nomads, what is actually the best for digital nomads, which structure to implement. Each structure has its benefits, has its pros and cons, and it should be considered from the perspective of personal circumstances, level of income, and flexibility actually of each individual now to implement any of these structures. to decide on which structure would be the best for a specific digital nomad. One of the additional items to be considered is, of course, avoidance of double taxation. As I mentioned, Croatia has a number of double taxation treaties. However, even if you would become Croatian tax resident, and we have no treaty with the country from which you are coming from, Croatia in its legislation has already introduced measures which will ensure that you can deduct tax which you are paying abroad from Croatian tax liability. So Croatia will allow you to deduct, to avoid actually double taxation on income of its tax residents. So it's not just such a bad thing, you know, to become Croatian tax resident. There are also some developments which Jan mentioned earlier on development of Croatian taxes for digital nomads. He had these meetings at the Croatian Ministry of Finance, and based on this, there is expectation now on changes to come in Croatia. There is still no information on any changes, but we will listen to all of this to see if there will be any change, but it's good actually to see that positive change is initiated. Since digital nomads are working from different locations, coming from different locations, they would need advice from advisors which can actually help them with tax advice from different countries. KPMG is covering a number of countries, 147 countries and territories. As you can see, these are all marked in blue on this slide. So if you will need help, we'll be happy to help you with all of that. Here are also my contacts for any questions or any discussion you would like to have on this matter. I trust that taxes in Croatia should not be such a bad thing for digital nomads. They should not actually distract them from making decision to come to live in and work from Croatia. And there is some administration, but with this administration, you have professional assistants who can help you. And I trust that government will find some solutions to help digital nomads, you know, to have at least easier administration in Croatia to regulate their taxes. I'm here for any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kristina. I know it's extremely hard to explain taxes in less than 15 minutes. KPMG are giving away 1 hour's free consultancy. So anyone in our chat who feels that they really need this consultancy, just drop a message in there. I know that somebody's written something. There's only 2 things certain in life, death and taxes, which is, I guess, 100% true. So drop a message in there. As we said, Kristina is more than happy to help that one person. And anyone else that needs help with taxes, definitely go to an expert. You don't want to get that thing wrong.